Okay, so I was wondering, I wanted to flip back because I was wondering who cooks breakfast. So I'm going to put that over here, and then I want to look at the evidence that we have here. Because it doesn't really say who cooked breakfast. So I was just curious, that thought came to me, and I wanted to go back and clarify. If you look, the one clue that we do have is that it's been a Sunday tradition since Chase had been born, which tells me that probably his father cooked it because he would have had to cook it when Chase was so young. Although maybe Chase has learned how to cook everything now, and he's actually the one that cooked it. Chase's father is also saying, "Do you want some more?" So maybe he cooked it. I don't know that it's important. It's just something that I wondered about when I was on the next page, and it's okay to flip back if you think of something later. So let's go back to where we were. So we were at the part where Chase's father was, what Chase thought was he was going to be upset, but he really wasn't upset that he had left the tools out after working on the treehouse. And what I was thinking about is this part right here. Chase returned the grin, and it wasn't because of his father's terrible pun, the joke that he made about being a master. Chase was relieved that his father wasn't upset that he was fixing the treehouse. And I can't figure out why his father might be upset. Like, why would his dad even be upset about him fixing the treehouse? That seems like a nice thing to do. Why would his father be upset about it? So that's the question that I had, that I asked. So copy that down. Unless you have a different question, or if you want to make a prediction about why his dad might be upset. I also made a prediction, and this time I tried to draw a stop and predict sign, because I know that's what the people who made the poster on the wall, they put a stop sign, which I liked. So stop and predict. I said maybe he was worried that he wouldn't rebuild it well enough. So maybe he was worried about the quality, and his father would be upset if he didn't do a good job. Or maybe he should have asked his dad for help. Maybe he was worried his dad might be upset if he didn't ask him for help, since he seems to care about building as well. So that was my prediction for that part. So let's read on and see if we can figure out why he was worried about his dad being upset. When Monica was 5 years old, and remember Monica is Chase's little sister. When Monica was 5 years old, she'd wandered off, sending the whole family into a terrified panic. They had searched for hours. Chase's mother had called the police. They were ready to issue an Amber Alert when Chase found Monica sound asleep in the old oak tree in the backyard. If she had rolled over, she would have fallen 25 feet. Chase and his father, mostly his father, had started building the treehouse the next morning. Soon Monica was spending almost as much time up in the treehouse as she was in their real house. So this really doesn't explain, again, why Chase's father might have been upset by him fixing the treehouse. Maybe it was because mostly his father had built it the first time. What this explains, and I want to summarize, I'm going to do a quick summary. I'm not going to write it down. I'm just going to retell it out loud, like I would do in my own head. I'm going to talk about what happened, and the reason why they have the treehouse in the first place is because Monica, when she was little, when she was 5, she wandered off and they couldn't find her. They searched for hours, and they actually called the police. And they were about ready to issue an Amber Alert, and Chase found Monica asleep in the oak tree. But she was up really high in the branches, so if she had fallen off, she could have gotten really hurt. So that is the reason why they decided to build the house. They decided to build the tree house in the first place. I wanted to talk about Amber Alert. Does anybody have any background knowledge about what an Amber Alert is? So an Amber Alert, and Amber might stand for something since all the letters are capital. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. An Amber Alert is a system to alert people of a missing child, okay? And that might come out through a text message to people, on Facebook, through the TV, as a phone call, or sometimes in some towns they actually have billboards where the billboard is like a computer screen and it changes. And this Amber Alert system is all throughout the United States. So if any kid ever goes missing, they put out this Amber Alert so that people can keep a lookout for where the kid might be. So they almost had to do that for Monica before they found her in the treehouse. So let's read on, because it still doesn't really tell us why he was worried about his dad maybe not wanting him to fix the treehouse. The treehouse had been sitting empty for a little over a year. So I'm going to pause right there, because why is that happening? Monica is not like old enough to have moved away. I'm trying to figure out why it would be sitting empty. Maybe she's just old enough now she doesn't feel like going in the treehouse anymore. But then why does he want to fix it up? And why isn't Monica at breakfast? So those are the things I'm thinking about. The treehouse had been sitting empty for a little over a year now, and Chase had not mentioned his repair plans to his father. There was an unspoken rule in the master's household. The deaths of his mother and sister were not to be talked about, because the subject opened sores that hurt for days. Wow. So now we know. We know why the mom and the sister aren't there. It's because something happened to them. So we need to add to our character chart that Monica has died, the little girl. We don't know how old she was when she died. And then the mother, she has died as well. And you can leave off this other part for now, but so she has died as well. We don't know her name. So the reason why he thought his dad might be upset is because of this sentence. The deaths were not to be talked about because the subject opened sores that hurt for days. And this is an unspoken rule. So it means that it's not a rule that they've like really talked about or written down, but it's just like something that they've sort of decided in their heads, right? Because it hurts too much to talk about. So they aren't talking about it. And I actually put this question with like an exclamation point, because this is a really big sort of turning point in the book that we find out his mom and his sister have died. So I put what happened. As far as Chase knew, his father hadn't set foot in Monica's bedroom since the accident. It was almost as if he thought she was still in there and would come running out one day, filling the house with her wild, uninhibited giggling. Chase would have given almost anything to hear that laugh again. Chase watched his father walk across the yard in the now pouring rain. John Masters hadn't bothered to put on a coat, and he was getting drenched. His lightweight cowboy shirt clung to his lean, ropey muscles. His brown hair had turned black in the torrent. He climbed the slick rungs, screwed into the gnarled trunk, and inspected Chase's work as if he were a structural engineer, which he wasn't. He was a builder, one of the best in the city. He had built their house and several other houses in the neighborhood, too. After he'd married Chase's mother, he'd started a construction company with her brother, Bob. I actually forgot something in the last paragraph that I wanted to ask. We get a little piece of information about what happened to his little sister and his mom in this paragraph. There's one word that I want to add to our character chart about what happened to them. Did anyone notice the word accident? So you can add that to your character chart about she has died, but it was an accident. That's the only thing we know so far. And now we also know that Chase's uncle, Bob, is a co-owner with John, the father, of a construction company. So now we also know that John he owns a construction company. And also I added that he is sad. We can tell that he's sad about the deaths of his wife and his daughter. And the same thing for Chase. He is sad about his mom and sister. In this paragraph, there's a lot of key words that we can kind of figure out as we are reading. Chase watched his father walk across the yard in the now pouring rain. John Masters hasn't bothered to put on a coat, and he was getting drenched. His lightweight cowboy shirt clung to his lean, ropey muscles. His brown hair had turned black in the torrent. He climbed the slick rung screwed into the gnarled trunk and inspected Chase's work. So this word here, gnarled, they don't give us enough information to figure out what it means like they did for the other words up here about the rain and the heavy rain. Gnarled means like scraggly, or like that the trunk of the tree is really bumpy and has like the bark is really sticking out a lot. So that's what gnarled means. So he climbed the rungs and inspected Chase's work as if he were a structural engineer. So a structural engineer is like kind of a more advanced version of a builder, of a carpenter. They do like bridges and they build skyscrapers. So Chase is saying he inspected it really closely. But he's not a structural engineer. He is a builder. He has his own carpentry company, a construction company.